All right, so I'm back in my bag. I finally had a chance to check out Swan Song, and this leads me to a funny joke or story that a few years ago, when my daughter was like 9 or 10, I made a joke. I said, "Yeah, can I clone you? Can I clone you about 3 or 4 times? That way, I won't be lonely, and I can have a bunch of you running around the house." And she was like, "No, Dad, you cannot clone me." And mind you, she's like 9 or 10. I said, "Well, why not? It'll be you can go do what you want to do, and I still get to have, other yous running around the house." And she said, emphatically, she said, "Absolutely not, Dad. You cannot clone me." Funniest thing ever. And I love this movie because it raises and asks the question, the moral question, um, an ethical question. Would you, if you could, if you were able to clone either yourself or family members to keep you in memorial, or would you clone family members? Now, me personally, um, I've already stated I've got a lock of Mini Me's hair in the freezer, and if I could afford to clone my daughter and keep her at a certain age, I will do so. But also, and when it comes to loved ones, because in this movie, Mahershala Ali puts on a phenomenal performance. Performance. He's one of our best actors of this generation, without a doubt. Mahershala Ali played Cottonmouth in the Luke Cage series on Netflix, and Naomi Harris puts on an equally stunning performance. So let's get into it. So basically, Swan Song. It's an ancient myth that swans, because they're so beautiful, when they honk, they make horrible, ugly noises when they honk. But the myth goes, before they die, right before their death, they sing a beautiful song. Also, swan song refers to an athlete's or performer's final performance. Okay, so we get into this movie's like in the near future. So all this technology they're showing us now is pretty much at the ends of our fingertips. um, so there's an automated waiter on a train. This flashback scene to when Cameron, played by Mahershala, meets Poppy. Poppy is played by Naomi Harris, which she's a beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. I remember seeing her in Miami Vice, and I was like, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous woman. So then Cameron is mentally terminal. Nice. He's terminal. He's terminally ill. He has seizures, and his prognosis has accelerated. And then there's a song playing by Moses Sumney. Moses Sumney is like, I don't even know what his nationality is, but he has this music, this whole vibe. The one particular song that stands out by Moses Sumney to me was in Leviathan Country's episode when Tick, played by Michael K. Harris, rest in peace, would kind of embraced himself at the drag club, and his song is playing throughout that end of the episode. It's a beautiful song. Moses Sumney has some beautiful music. So there's like a metaverse esque floating avatar. So you see a lot of floating avatars in this movie. You know how it is on your phone, and in the movie Avatar, all the screens and everything is pretty much in the air. Same thing with Tony Stark and Iron Man movies. Everything, you don't have to touch anything. Everything's in your face, like in real time, like and floating in the air. So these floating icons. He receives a floating message from Poppy about parent teacher conference that night. Later on that night, and then Cameron has a seizure and passes out. And then Cameron goes to meet Dr. Scott, played by Glenn Close. A lot of heavy hitters in this movie. It's called Aura Labs, and his clone has modified strands of DNA to prevent the same illness that Cameron is suffering from as well. This movie pretty much tells you the whole get down if you're into that type of stuff. All right. The clone is codenamed Jack, and Cameron inspects his living quarters because the agreement is, if he agrees to take on the project and do the clone project, he can't tell his wife, he can't tell anybody he's dying. He would have to go to the lab to live out his final days while the clone takes over his life and persona back at the house. Okay, so it's a clean swap. Nobody knows the difference. Okay. Cameron meets Dalton, the psychologist and head technician, played by Adam Beach. Adam Beach was in Suicide Squad for about 10 minutes. Okay. Cameron's contact lenses has cameras inside of them, and he has to disable them while he's inside the lab. So he does this thing with his thumbs, and he disables the cameras inside of his contact lenses. Okay. Then Cameron inspects Jack, and then after he looks at Jack, 'cause Jack is sleeping, Cameron changes his mind, Dr. Scott then reminds Cameron that if he tells his wife he's dying, the deal is off. Corey, his son, asks for his dad's pencils that he doesn't use since Andre died. Andre was Poppy's twin brother. We're going to get back into that in a minute. There's a flashback of Andre, Poppy, and Cameron talking about the clone replacements with family members. So they're having this discussion about would they clone family members and if they could tell the difference and why would they do so and the moral and ethical issues behind it. Okay, so then Cameron meets with Dr. Scott. There's a memory swap process. Cameron will be the test subject. Okay, and Cameron decides to spend a week with Jack, but Cameron meets Kate. So Cameron meets the second test subject. Cameron will be the third test subject. Cameron meets the second test subject, which is Kate, played by Aquafina. Um, Kate also had a daughter. Okay, so he goes to her place of employment. She is a realtor, and he meets the clone of Kate, and he's looking at her and then he goes through the motions of trying to buy a house, whatever the case may be. Poppy, come to find out, is pregnant. Cameron gets emotional. He tries to tell her that he's dying, but he can't. Cameron agrees to the terms and meets the original Kate back at the lab. Cam tells Poppy he has to leave for a week. The mind swap process takes about 6 hours. Even his subconscious memories will be swapped. So it's just like when you sync your phone from your old phone to your new phone, you move the data from the old phone into the new phone. Okay, just in every sequential order, the way you had it, text messages, the way your icons are set up on your home screen, it would be just like that. Cam and Kate had the same oncologist. Okay, which they never really got into. I thought it was kind of odd. Like, so when I heard this, I'm thinking this is whole theory that the oncologist is injecting his patients with diseases to further this experiment, right? That's where I went left with that. Okay, so Kate's clone has been active for 42 days. There's the symbology. Cam and Jack sync memories, and then it starts with the time he courted Poppy. Okay, so they have to lay down and kind of sync the memories to make sure there's no glitches. The formatting is correct. Okay, this is very, very intense. All right, 2 months later, Cam and Poppy pick out baby clothes via video chat. Jack is then awakened. Jack is then told there's a specific freckle on his hand, only aching to him. And if he gets confused, he is to find that freckle and he'll know who he is. Okay, because Mahershala Ali has freckles all over his hands, but there's a specific freckle like right here on his thumb that it's bigger than the rest, that he would know that who he was if he got discombobulated or got lost. Okay, Cameron then meets Jack, retelling memories of Corey and Poppy to Dr. Scott, and then Cameron and Jack finally meet and converse. Jack is apologetic to Cameron. Jack then goes through memory testing. Andre, come to find out, was killed in a motorcycle accident. His body was thrown in the branches of a pine tree. That's where they found his body. Poppy became clinically depressed because of this. And then Cameron sits in on Jack's memory testing. Dr. Scott, for an experiment, all three, so it's Dr. Scott, Cameron, and Jack. Dr. Scott has Jack call Poppy for a test, for Jack to test his knowledge with Poppy during a video phone call. Jack immediately begins to strike a banter with Poppy. Poppy can't tell the difference. She's laughing. And then he's making her laugh by recalling memories of their first pregnancy with Corey. Cameron then gets upset and disconnects the call. Because in a prior conversation with Kate, he reveals to Kate that, hey, I haven't made her laugh in months. And then here comes Jack making her laugh within 2 minutes of a phone call. So then Cam disconnects the call. Jack gets immediately upset and says, hey, why'd you hang up on my wife? And then Cam and Jack get confrontational. Jack accuses Cameron of being jealous that this could work. He tells Cam he doesn't know what it's like waiting to pull the plug and being told that he's not Cam. And this is when the scene in the trailer, when Cam screams at him, says, "You're not me." Very, very deep, very emotional scene. Like I said, once again, Mahershala Ali, clearly one of the best actors of his generation per se. Cam then threatens to leave and tell Poppy the truth. Jack then tells Cam he's being selfish and shuts down on Poppy and feels Poppy and he responds by saying, well, he feels like Poppy abandoned him during her clinical depression when he's trying to be there for her after her brother Andre died. Okay. Cam then has another mild seizure and then he walks off. Okay. Jack then tells Dr. Scott he needs to see Cam before Cam leaves. Cam goes home for 3 days, or he attempts to go home for 3 days. So he gets to the house. He's on the path to the house. You can see Cam. You can see Poppy and Corey in the window, the second story window. Cam then has another seizure on the ground in front of his house, in plain view, where everyone could see him, but no one seen him because it was at night. He has a seizure. Dr. Scott sends a car to pick up Cameron. Everyone back at the lab can see what's happening through his contact lenses because the cameras are on. Dr. Scott sends a car for Cameron to return back to the lab. Dr. Scott then tells Dalton, the therapist and technician, Jack has to go to Poppy the next morning because they already told Poppy he's going to be back in a week and it's that time. Okay. After 2 weeks, if things go well between Jack and Poppy, Jack's memories of the lab experience will be erased and he will completely be the new Cameron without the memories of what happened, that he's a clone or anything like that. Okay. Jack arrives home, but then the dog barks at Jack incessantly, so the dog knows this is not its master. All right. Cam then wakes up at the lab 24 hours out of a mild coma. Dr. Scott tells Cam Jack left. Cam argues that he wasn't done. Dr. Scott reminds Cameron that he's dying. Okay. And then Cam watches the live feed of Poppy apologizing for abandoning him and that they will start communicating to fix it. But at this time, it's Jack. Okay, so Cam is watching all this via a live feed. Everyone's watching this at the lab via live feed through his contact lenses. Cam then visits a sickly Kate. Kate later dies. Cam then complains to Dr. Scott about Jack taking out the contacts, killing the live feed because it hurts Jack's eyes, because Jack has no eye issues, unlike Cameron, which is why Cameron was wearing the contact lenses to begin with. And then Cam has a violent episode flashback at dinner over Corey's game. Then Cam breaks into Dr. Scott's office looking for the keys to the boat so he can leave. Cam then sneaks back into his home and goes to his office and sees that, because Cameron is a graphic visual artist, and he sees that basically Jack has been doing what he's been doing and plus more. All right, because at the beginning of the movie, I guess Cam's kind of in a funk and hasn't been turning in projects the way he's supposed to. But then he goes back and he sees Jack has been flourishing more than ever with the artist, with the visuals and the drawings and all that good stuff. And then he begins going through text messages between Poppy and Jack. Jack then sneaks up on Cam, and then he tells him, do what you need to do. The dog then walks in on both of Cam and Jack, and the dog runs out immediately because the dog is hella confused. Jack then hides in the closet while Cam assumes his role to go have one final talk with Corey over apple juice and sweet peas. He then sneaks into bed and tells Poppy he loves her, and they should name the baby Andre in honor of her dead twin brother. Later that night, before Cam leaves back to the lab, he gives Cam back his wedding ring. Or he gives Jack back his wedding ring and thanks him and tells him to take care of them. Jack says he will. They shake hands. So then back at the lab, 2 weeks later, Jack has officially had his lab memories wiped. So he is officially Cameron Turner. Dr. Scott then tells Cam it's hard being left behind. There's a new client for Cam to meet. So the process goes, every old client is there to help usher in and welcome the new client and get them up to speed about how things are and kind of be like a therapist, okay? Jack then leaves Cam a final video montage of Poppy telling Cam she loves him while Cameron weeps. And that's the end of the movie. This is a sad, sad movie, but it raises an excellent question. Should you clone yourself or family members if you're not ready to move on without them? Would you clone yourself if you're terminally ill and have this clone take over the duties of being that member of your family without your family knowing? So Beautiful movie. Mahershala Ali, kudos, stand up performance. Once again, Naomi Harris stand up performance as well. So that's my breakdown of Swan Song. You guys have a good one. Peace.